My name is Marla Mercer Cole. I'm the Vice President of Mercer Adams Funeral Service. It is, yes, my family's business, and I have the privilege of working there on many functions, but my favorite one is as a licensed professional counselor, walking with people after a loss. I couldn't do the before part, and I don't really do the during part, but after, we really do understand the language of comfort, and it is a passion of mine to help people process and understand and work through the grief that they experience. Many people really have such myths about grief, and as a result, they suffer far more than they need to. For example, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 5-stage model, that is accurate for people who have a terminal diagnosis, but that doesn't translate to the general population of grieving people. Sure, there are people who learn of the death and they may experience the denial, the anger, depression, but those aren't stages. This is not a checklist for grievers to go through. More grieving people really experience such fluctuation of emotions because grief is a process. It's not just a single event. And we process throughout the rest of our lives. As long as our hearts beat, we really are grievers. The intensity can change, and that's one of the benefits of really understanding the myths of grief and what grief really is, and then how to help yourself. Besides the biggest myth, in my opinion, about Kubler-Ross's stages being the end-all for grieving people, people in our society are just ill-equipped to understand the intensity and the depth of grief. It is all-encompassing, and it can be all-consuming. The death of a child, for example, is something that bereaved parents will live with the rest of their lives. It's different when it's 89 or 102-year-old great Aunt Ruby that you saw once a year, and a far cry different if it is your child or your spouse or a close sibling. These deaths all affect us differently, and there is not one way to grieve. It's as uniquely different as our fingerprints. And our society wants us to be quick because we seem to be conditioned to do everything quickly. You take a pill to cure things. There seem to be medical cures for almost everything these days, at least that's what media would want you to believe. The reality is that grief is more difficult and it lasts longer than anyone wants it to last. And we would be better served if we understood the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, and the social effects that grief can have on us all, and come and support each other in that kind of a way.